The plate was already halfway to her mouth when the girl screamed. "Stop! Don't eat it!" The dining hall exploded into chaos. A fork clattered to the marble floor. Chairs scraped back violently. Guards reached for their weapons. Servants froze mid-step, trays trembling in their hands. The rich woman's eyes widened in shock as the shout tore through the air like a blade. "What did you say?" the woman demanded, her voice sharp, commanding the entire room into stunned silence. The girl was shaking. Her chest heaved as if she had been running for miles. Her dress, thin, faded, and torn at the hem, clung to her small body. Dust covered her feet. Sweat ran down her temples. She had burst into the dining hall without invitation, without permission, without fear for her own life. Only fear for someone else. "That food," the girl cried, pointing with trembling fingers. "It's poisoned." Gasps rippled across the room. The woman, Mrs. Clara Hayes, one of the wealthiest women in the city, slowly lowered her fork. The hall smelled of roasted meat, rich spices, and expensive wine. Chandeliers glittered above. Everything was polished, perfect, controlled. Except the girl. "Guards," Mrs. Hayes said calmly, though her heart hammered. "Hold her, but do not hurt her." 2 guards stepped forward, gripping the girl's arms. She didn't fight them. She didn't cry. She only kept shouting. "Please, please don't eat it. I saw him do it. I saw my friend, he didn't want to, but they forced him, please." The woman stood. Silence fell so heavily, it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. "Who are you?" Mrs. Hayes asked. "My name is Lena," the girl said, her voice cracking. "I clean tables in the kitchen. I sweep floors. I bring water when they shout at me." "And who is he?" Mrs. Hayes asked. "My friend, Tom." The name sent a murmur through the servants standing at the edges of the hall. Tom was the new kitchen boy. The kitchen was loud. Pots banged, knives chopped, flames roared under heavy pans. Orders flew through the air like arrows. "Move faster! Watch that sauce! Don't burn it!" Lena scrubbed the floor on her knees, her fingers raw from soap and cold water. She had been working since dawn. Her stomach ached with hunger, but she didn't complain. Complaining got you beaten. Or fired, or worse. Tom stood at the far counter, his hands shaking as he stirred a pot. Lena noticed it right away. Tom always smiled, even when he was tired, even when the head cook slapped him for spilling soup, even when the guards mocked him for being poor. But today, he wasn't smiling. He was pale. "Tom," Lena whispered, crawling closer, "are you okay?" He didn't answer. She saw his eyes dart toward the door. Then, toward the man standing near the spices. Mr. Drake. A tall man, clean clothes, cold eyes. He didn't belong in the kitchen, but no one questioned him. People like him were never questioned. Lena watched as Mr. Drake slipped something small and dark into Tom's hand. Tom froze. "No," Tom whispered, his voice barely audible over the noise. "Please, I can't." Mr. Drake leaned closer. "You will," he said softly, "or your little sister won't wake up tomorrow." Lena's heart stopped. Tom's hand trembled as he turned back to the pot. Lena watched in horror as he dropped the substance into the food. The food meant for Mrs. Clara Hayes. Her knees went weak. "What did you do?" Lena whispered. Tom turned, tears spilling down his face. "They made me," he sobbed. "They said they'd kill my sister. I didn't know what else to do." Lena didn't think. She didn't hesitate. She ran. Mrs. Hayes listened as Lena spoke. She listened as the girl explained everything. The kitchen, the threat, the poison, the fear in Tom's eyes. The woman's face hardened. "Bring the food to the lab," she ordered. "Now." Guards rushed out with the plate. She turned back to Lena. "You risked your life," Mrs. Hayes said slowly. "Do you understand that?" Lena nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Why?" Lena swallowed. "Because it was wrong," she said simply. "And because even rich people don't deserve to die." The room went silent again. Minutes later, a guard returned, his face pale. "Ma'am," he said, "the food is poisoned." A collective gasp filled the hall. Mrs. Hayes closed her eyes. Then she looked at Lena. And everything changed. Tom was brought in, shaking, crying, begging for forgiveness. Mrs. Hayes didn't shout. She listened. When he finished, she stood and faced the entire room. "Anyone involved in this," she said coldly, "will answer to the law." Mr. Drake was arrested that same night. Tom's sister was found alive. And Lena was given a chair, food, clean water. For the first time in years, someone asked her if she was hungry. She cried as she ate. Mrs. Hayes asked questions. Where Lena lived, who her parents were, what she dreamed of. Lena answered honestly. "My parents died," she said. "I don't go to school. I can read a little. I like books." Mrs. Hayes nodded. That night, she couldn't sleep. The image of that small girl screaming "Stop" haunted her. So did the thought of what would have happened if Lena had been afraid. 1 week later, Lena was called back to the mansion. She stood nervously in front of Mrs. Hayes, her hands folded, her heart racing. Mrs. Hayes smiled a real smile this time. "Lena," she said, "you saved my life." Lena shook her head. "I just did what was right." Mrs. Hayes knelt in front of her. "From this day forward," she said gently, "I will sponsor your education, your books, your uniform, your meals, your future." Lena stared at her. You mean school?" she whispered. "Yes," Mrs. Hayes said, "and beyond that college, if you wish." Tears streamed down Lena's face. "No one," she sobbed, "has ever done something like that for me." Mrs. Hayes took her hands. "You did something for me first." Years later, Lena would stand in a graduation gown. She would speak to rooms full of people about courage, about choosing right over fear, about one moment, one scream that changed everything. And every time she finished her speech, she would remember the day chaos filled a dining hall, and how a poor girl saved a rich woman's life. Lena woke up on a bed she did not recognize. The sheets were soft, too soft. The room smelled of clean soap and flowers. Sunlight poured through tall white curtains, warming her face. For a moment, panic rushed through her. She sat up quickly, clutching the blanket. "Where am I?" she whispered. Then she remembered. The dining hall. The scream. The poisoned food. Mrs. Hayes' eyes. A gentle knock came at the door. "Lena," a woman's voice called softly, "may I come in?" The door opened slowly and a housemaid stepped in carrying a tray of food, bread, fruit, warm milk. "You're in the guest wing," the maid said kindly. Madam Hayes asked that you be cared for." Lena stared at the food. "For me?" The maid smiled. "Yes, for you." Lena's hands trembled as she reached for the bread. She hadn't eaten like this in years. Not without fear. Not without rushing. Not without hiding. Tears fell silently onto the sheets as she ate. Later that morning, Mrs. Hayes sent for Lena. This time, the woman was not dressed in fine dinner clothes. She wore a simple blouse, her hair tied back. She looked human. "Sit," Mrs. Hayes said gently. Lena sat. "I've been thinking about you all night," Mrs. Hayes said, "about what kind of courage it takes for a child to run into danger for someone she doesn't know." Lena shrugged. "I didn't think," she admitted. "I just ran." Mrs. Hayes nodded slowly. "Sometimes," she said, "the bravest people don't realize how brave they are." She leaned forward. "Tell me about your life, Lena." And Lena did. She spoke of sleeping under staircases, of washing dishes for scraps, of watching other children go to school while she scrubbed floors, of learning letters from torn newspapers, of dreaming quietly because dreaming out loud hurt too much. Mrs. Hayes listened without interruption. When Lena finished, there were tears in the woman's eyes. "No child," Mrs. Hayes said, "should live like that." Across the city, Tom sat in a small room under guard. His hands were bruised. His eyes were swollen from crying. He thought of his sister. He thought of Lena. When Mrs. Hayes entered, he dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I didn't want to do it. I swear I didn't." "I know," Mrs. Hayes said calmly. She looked at him for a long moment. "You were used," she said, "and you were scared." Tom nodded, unable to speak. "Fear makes people do terrible things," she continued, "but courage can undo them." She turned to the guard. "Release him," she said, "and make sure his sister is protected." Tom looked up in disbelief. "Why?" he whispered. Mrs. Hayes paused. "Because a girl with nothing risked everything," she said, "and I won't ignore that lesson." Words spread quickly. About the girl. About the poison. About the scream that saved a life. Some servants whispered in admiration. Others whispered in jealousy. "A street girl," some scoffed, "living in the guest wing." But Mrs. Hayes did not listen. She watched Lena closely. She noticed how the girl flinched at loud voices, how she apologized even when she did nothing wrong, how she stared at books like they were treasures. And something inside Mrs. Hayes shifted. When Lena was told she would attend school, she thought it was a joke. "I don't have shoes," she said softly. "New shoes arrived." "I don't have books." "Books arrived." "I don't know how to fit in." Mrs. Hayes knelt in front of her again. "You don't need to fit in," she said. "You just need to learn." She smiled happily and laughed out with joy laugh.